The first thing Sergeant Daniel Harper noticed about the new recruit was that she didn't look like she belonged there. She stood at the end of the formation, boots slightly scuffed, shoulders relaxed instead of stiff like the others, eyes forward but not wide with fear the way most new trainees looked on their first morning. Her name, tagged with Red Reynolds, and beneath it, the faint outline of a faded scar ran along her jawline, barely visible unless you looked closely. Harper had been training recruits for over 15 years. He prided himself on being able to read people within seconds. Who would break? Who would complain? Who would wash out quietly? Who would try to prove too much and fail even faster? And this one, she looked unimpressed. Listen up, Harper barked, his voice cracking across the yard like a whip. Conversations died instantly. Spine snapped straight. Fear settled in. Except hers. She didn't flinch. She didn't blink. She simply adjusted her stance by half an inch, as if she'd done this before. Harper's jaw tightened. Today, he continued, pacing in front of the line, you stop being whoever you think you are. From this moment on, you're nothing. You're an everything. You breathe when I say you breathe. He stopped directly in front of Reynolds. You got a problem with that, Newbie? Her voice came calm, even. No, sergeant. Not too loud. Not too soft. Perfect control. That irritated him more than fear ever could. The morning drills were designed to break them early. Endless push UPS in wet grass. Sprints that burn lungs raw. Carrying equipment heavier than their own bodies. By noon, several recruits were already shaking. One had thrown up behind the barracks. Another sat on the ground, staring at his hands like they didn't belong to him anymore. Reynolds didn't stand out. And that was the problem. She didn't lag. She didn't lead. She stayed exactly in the middle, conserving energy, adjusting her pace with almost surgical precision. Harper noticed how she breathed through her nose during runs, how she shifted her grip during carries to protect her wrists, how she rolled her shoulders after each exercise like someone who understood recovery. That wasn't normal for a first-timer. During hand-to-hand basics, Harper decided to test her. Reynolds, he snapped. Front and center. She stepped forward immediately. Think you're tough? He asked. Or are you just hiding back there? I follow instructions, Sergeant. A few recruits smirked. Harper didn't good. Then you won't mind sparring. He pointed to Private Cole Mitchell, one of the strongest in the group. Former college wrestler. Loud. Confident. Already thought he was better than everyone else. Mitchell, show the newbie what real training looks like. They squared up. Basic rules. Control movements. No ego. Mitchell rushed her immediately, trying to overpower her with sheer strength. Reynolds stepped sideways, barely visible movement, and redirected his momentum. Mitchell stumbled, surprised, barely catching himself. The yard went quiet. Again, Harper barked. This time Mitchell grabbed her sleeve. She didn't resist. She pivoted, trapped his arm, and used his weight against him. Mitchell hit the ground hard, the air leaving his lungs in a sharp gasp. Harper raised a hand instantly. Enough. Reynolds stepped back, breathing steady. Mitchell stared up at her, confused and embarrassed. Harper's eyes narrowed. That wasn't beginner technique. That wasn't instinct. That was training. He dismissed them both without comment. But the seed of suspicion had been planted. That night, Harper reviewed the files. Reynolds, Ava, age 26. Clean record. No prior military service listed. Education, incomplete. Employment history vague. A few short-term jobs. Nothing that explained what he'd seen. He leaned back in his chair, tapping the file. Something didn't add up. The next day, he pushed harder. Obstacle courses were extended. Rest times shortened. Mistakes punished instantly. When one recruit collapsed during a carry, Harper ordered Reynolds to take his load as well. She didn't argue. She adjusted the straps, balanced the weight, and moved. Her face tightened slightly under the strain, but her posture stayed strong. No wasted motion. No panic. By the end of the course, most recruits were dragging themselves across the finish line. Reynolds walked. Harper stepped in front of her. You think this is easy? He asked quietly. No, Sergeant. Then why don't you look tired? She met his eyes. For the first time, there was something there. Not defiance. Not fear. Calculation. I am tired, Sergeant. I just don't show it. That answer bothered him more than arrogance ever could. Later that afternoon, Harper called his fellow instructor, Sergeant Lewis Grant. You seen Reynolds? Harper asked. Grant nodded. Yeah, quiet one. Why? She's not new. Grant frowned. File says she is. File's wrong. Grant shrugged. Were you reading too much into it? Harper didn't reply. That evening, the recruits were ordered into a night navigation exercise. Minimal light, limited guidance, designed to create confusion. Reynolds disappeared into the darkness without hesitation. An hour later, she returned first. Harper stared at her map. Perfectly marked. Clean lines. No hesitation marks. How'd you learn navigation like this? He asked. She paused for half a second too long. Studied, Sergeant. Harper leaned closer. Where? Her voice stayed neutral. Different places. He straightened, expression unreadable. The rumors started spreading among the recruits. She's hiding something. She moves like she's done this before. Sergeant Harper's got it out for her. And he did. Not because he hated her, because he didn't trust what he couldn't explain. That on the fourth day, Harper finally snapped. During endurance drills, he singled her out again and again. Corrected her form, even when it was flawless. Added extra laps. Extended her holds to T1 point. Another recruit whispered, "Get lost, Newbie," as she passed. Reynolds didn't respond. She just kept moving. That night, Harper called her into his office. "You don't belong here," he said flatly. She stood at attention. "I belong where I was assigned, Sergeant." "No, people like you come here for the wrong reasons. And I don't care what they are. I will fail you." Silence stretched between them. Finally, she spoke. "If that's your decision, Sergeant, I'll accept it." That answer hit him harder than any argument. "Dismissed," he said sharply. As she turned to leave, Harper added, "Tomorrow, final evaluation." She paused at the door. "Yes, Sergeant." When she left, Harper stared at the wall longer than he meant to. He didn't know why this bothered him so much. All he knew was this. If Ava Reynolds was pretending to be a newbie, she was doing it better than anyone he'd ever seen. And tomorrow, he planned to expose her. Before the screen fades, the narrator's voice comes in calm and steady. If you enjoy realistic military stories about hidden strength, discipline, and truth coming to light, make sure you subscribe to Generals and Truth Stories. These are stories you won't hear anywhere else. The night settled over the base, quiet and tense. And somewhere in the barracks, Ava Reynolds lay awake, staring at the ceiling, knowing that tomorrow would force her to show what she had been trying so hard to hide. Morning came before anyone was ready for it. The bugle echoed across the base, sharp and unforgiving, slicing through sleep like a blade. Recruits spilled out of the barracks in uneven lines, some still adjusting their gear, others rubbing tired eyes. Whispered tension hung in the air. Everyone knew what day it was. Final evaluation. Sergeant Daniel Harper stood near the equipment racks, arms crossed, eyes scanning faces with cold precision. He had barely slept, not because of fatigue, but because his mind refused to let go of one name. Reynolds. She stepped into formation exactly on time. Boots clean, uniform perfect, expression neutral. Harper watched her closely. There was no hesitation in her movements, no nerves, no unnecessary tension. That alone told him everything. Today, Harper announced, is not about strength. It's not about speed. It's not about who looks good in formation. Today decides who stays and who goes. He let the words sink in. You will be tested under pressure. You will be pushed past comfort. Some of you will fail. That is expected. His gaze locked onto Reynolds. Some of you, he continued, have been hiding. A murmur rippled through the line. Harper turned sharply. Silence. The evaluation began with team-based problem-solving, carrying weighted crates across unstable ground, coordinating movement while under time pressure. Simple tasks designed to expose poor leadership and panic. Reynolds was assigned to a group of 4, including Mitchell, who still avoided eye contact with her after their sparring match. The task started rough. One recruit argued. Another rushed ahead without checking footing. The crate tipped dangerously. Reynolds didn't raise her voice. Stop, she said calmly. Reset. Mitchell, you take the front left. I'll stabilize the rear. Count on my signal. Mitchell hesitated for half a second, then nodded. They moved smoothly after that. No wasted steps. No shouting. When one recruit slipped, Reynolds caught the crate before it fell, adjusting instantly. They finished ahead of schedule. Harper made no comment, but Sergeant Grant leaned toward him. "She's leading without authority," Grant muttered. "That's not normal." "No," Harper replied quietly. "It's trained." Next came endurance, that a long-distance run with full gear, followed immediately by a casualty drag. The sun climbed higher, heat pressing down like a weight of its own. Recruits staggered. One collapsed completely, gasping for air. Medics rushed in. Reynolds slowed, assessing the situation without breaking stride. She adjusted her pace, conserving energy for the drag. When her turn came, she lifted the weighted dummy with precise technique, distributing the load across her hips and core. Her jaw tightened. Sweat ran down her neck, but she didn't stop that Harper's fists clenched. She wasn't just surviving. She was managing to AT the range. Things finally broke open. The recruits were given standard firearms, basic instructions, and limited time. Most hit acceptable groupings. Some struggled. Reynolds stepped up last. Her stance changed subtly. Feet planted, grip firm but relaxed. Breathing slowed. She fired. The sound was controlled. Each shot deliberate. When the targets were retrieved, silence followed. Tight grouping. Center mass. Near perfect. Grant looked to Harper. "That's not beginner luck." Harper didn't respond. His eyes stayed on Reynolds. After the range, Harper dismissed the others. "Reynolds, stay." She approached, standing at attention. "How long?" Harper asked. She didn't pretend not to understand. 8 years, she said quietly. His breath left him slowly. "Where?" She hesitated, just enough to show the weight behind the answer. "Private contracting. Security training. Crisis response." Harper studied her face. "You could have gone anywhere. Why here?" Her eyes didn't waver. "I wanted something real." He scoffed. "Real?" "Yes, Sergeant. Real standards. Real accountability. Somewhere skill actually matters." Silence stretched. "You let me think you were weak," he said. "I let you think what you needed to," she replied calmly. "I followed every rule." Harper looked away, jaw tight. The final test was the worst. A simulated emergency scenario. Limited visibility. Loud noise. Confusion. One instructor played an injured team leader. The recruits were expected to respond under pressure. Everything went wrong immediately. Orders overlapped. One recruit froze. Another panicked and dropped equipment. Reynolds stepped in without hesitation. "Grant, secure the perimeter." "Mitchell, help him." "I'll assess." She checked the injured instructor, applied pressure, issued clear instructions. Her voice never rose. Harper watched from the observation point, heart pounding harder than he wanted to admit. This wasn't instinct. This was experience earned the hard way. The scenario ended early. Harper walked down, stopping in front of her. "That's enough," he said. The recruit stood frozen. Harper faced the group. "You've just seen what competence looks like under pressure," he said. "Learn from it." He turned back to Reynolds. "You passed," he said quietly, with room to spare. A flicker crossed her face. Relief? Or something heavier? Later, in his office, Harper closed the door. "I tried to fail you," he admitted. "Yes, Sergeant. Because I didn't trust you." She nodded. "Fair." He exhaled slowly. "I was wrong." She met his eyes. "You did your job." For the first time since she arrived, Harper gave a short nod of respect. "Welcome," he said. That night, the barracks felt different. Recruits spoke to Reynolds with a new tone. Not fear, not awe, respect. Mitchell approached her quietly. "For what it's worth, I was wrong about you." She gave a small smile. "So was I. About some things." The camera slowly pulls back as lights dim. The narrator's voice returns, steady and reflective. Sometimes the strongest people are the ones who don't announce themselves. They wait. They observe. And when the moment comes, they let skill speak louder than ego. If you enjoyed this story of discipline, hidden strength, and earned respect, subscribe to Generals and Truth Stories. More powerful, realistic stories are coming. Stories that remind us that truth always surfaces in the end. The final image fades on Ava Reynolds standing alone on the training ground. Not as a newbie, not as a mystery, but as someone who finally belonged. Story ends.